And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is John Russell, internationally known psychic medium and paranormal investigator with over 50 years of experience. John, thanks for joining me today and welcome.
Jeff, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate meeting you, and I'm looking forward to our interview.
Well, it's my honor to have you. And let's start with how you got involved in all this type of work in the first place.
Well, the origin story goes back to when I was 5 years old. And my parents had put a nightlight in the hallway. So if I had to get up and go to the bathroom, then I could get up and see. And the hallway went from my bedroom, my open door bedroom. The hallway went down to the bathroom on the right, and then to the left was the dining room. And I was 5.5 years old, and I was lying in my bed, totally sound asleep, and woke up suddenly, instantly wide awake. No drowsiness, no grogginess, just instantly wide awake. And I thought, well, this is really crazy. Why has this happened? And I thought, well, maybe there was noise outside that woke me. And I laid there real quiet and listened, didn't hear anything. And I didn't get sleepy and didn't want to go back to sleep. And I thought, well, this is really nuts. So I just raised up on my elbows, kind of looked around my room a little bit, trying to figure out what was going on. And I looked out my open bedroom door and I looked down the hallway. And in the glow from the nightlight, there was this elderly black gentleman peering around the door frame coming from the dining room, peering down the hallway, looking at me. And I screamed bloody murder because my family was white. We didn't have anyone black living with us. I don't even think we had black friends at the time. So my interpretation of what's happening as a child is an intruder's entered the home. We've had somebody break in. So when I screamed the first time, he walked around the door frame, walked into the hallway and walked toward my bedroom, walked toward me. And I knew he was elderly because he had close cropped white hair and he had a white mustache. He was every bit as solid as you or I, which convinced me that someone had broken in. He wasn't translucent, wasn't transparent, wasn't wispy. He was fully dressed. I can tell you the clothes he had on. He wore a long-sleeved red plaid flannel shirt. He had khaki pants, black shoes, and a black belt. And like I say, every bit as physical, every bit as solid as you or I. And he locked eyes with me, never looked away. And he got real close to my bed, and I screamed again. My parents woke up and came running. And when they came running, he vanished. So they turned on the bedroom lights. My mom's holding me. I'm crying and yelling and sobbing. I said, somebody's in the house. Somebody's broken in. And even though I'd seen him vanish, I was like, no, somebody's got to be here. And my fright was so real that my father actually went through the house, checked all the doors and windows. Everything was intact. He looked under the beds. He looked in the closets because I had convinced him somebody's in this house. So I'm like, no, you just had a bad dream. And I was like, okay, I've seen my first ghost. And why did this guy come? Is he going to come back? Is he going to want to talk to me? Is he going to want to ask me to do something weird or scary or whatever? So they finally managed to get me back to sleep. They left the bedroom light on. I finally got back to sleep. And for the next couple of weeks, it was like my life was spent looking over my shoulder and having a hard time going to sleep because this guy can come into a locked house, appear physically solid, and then vanish. So is he going to come back? And if so, when is he going to come back? And what did he want? And why did he show up in the first place? And then these physical paranormal manifestations began to happen. Rocking chairs rocking on their own, doors opening and closing by themselves, the sound of footsteps when nobody was there. And it wasn't just me that experienced these. My family did, and other people that were around me experienced them as well. So they were real, honest to God, solid manifestations. And when that began to occur, I couldn't articulate it as a 5.5-year-old, but intuitively I understood when these things began to happen that this old black ghost had come to open the portal to these manifestations. And at an intuitive level, I understood, okay, these things are important for me, and down the road, they're going to be important for other people. And so after that, I was never scared again, ever, of anything that happened. I never had any more fright after that. And I began to want to investigate these things, learn more about them, discover more about them. And at first it was just the physical paranormal manifestations. But then when I was close to 6, I was outside playing in the yard, and a car pulled into the driveway, and I didn't know the people, so I ran the house, got my mom and dad, and I said, somebody's here, and I don't know who they are. They said, okay, we'll come look. So they came out. They said, oh, these are friends of ours. And I didn't know the people. I'd never met them. So they got out of the car, and they stood there on the sidewalk with my mom and dad just talking before they went in the house, and I was playing with my toy. And in a little bit, I walked over to them and stood there, and I looked up at everybody while they were standing there talking, and a little break in the conversation happened. And I said, you folks just went on vacation. And I said, you drove that car that's in the driveway. You took that car. And I said, you have 2 kids, and they're not with you today, but you have 2 kids, and you took them with you in that car on vacation. And you stayed at this hotel that had this many floors. It was painted this color. It looked like this in the front. There were these trees shaped like this that were regularly spaced in front. Around back was a pool area, and it looked like this, and was painted this color, and so on and so forth. So the lady's husband, he was kind of like looking at me, looking at my parents, and looking at her like, what's going on? And the woman, she looked at me like I had cobras growing out of my ears, literally. She was like slack jawed. Her eyes were bugged out. I'll never forget how wide her eyes were. And she looked at my parents and said, how the hell could he possibly know that? And my mom was like, oh, kids and their imaginations. And she goes, no, no, no. This is not kids and their imaginations. How the hell could he possibly know that? My parents didn't know what to say. And she said, that's what we came to tell you. We just went on vacation. We drove our car with our 2 kids. The hotel we stayed at is exactly as John described it. How the hell could he possibly know that? And my parents were like, John, go play. It's like, okay, nice to meet you folks. And off I went. Scared them so bad they never came back to visit again. And that's when I discovered that I had developed a psychic gift. And I think that was all part of this portal opening up to these paranormal manifestations from the ghost visit and everything. And so I discovered that I had the ability to see into people's lives. Ultimately, I became able to accurately predict their futures. And so I began to study and develop these gifts, work on them, and that's where it all started.
Well, having over 50 years of experience,
Yeah.
how has your approach to the readings evolved?
It's never really changed, because if you have something that works, you don't mess with it, you don't tinker with it. And my North Star from the beginning, Jeff, was that I wanted to find out what worked, what didn't, what was truthful, what wasn't. And in doing that, I worked out an approach to paranormal investigations, and I worked out an approach to readings. And for me, in the readings was, it had to work. It had to be accurate. It had to be insightful. It had to be helpful. It had to be something that the clients could relate to and could verify. And the predictions had to be accurate. So I hit that watermark, that bellwether, and around 15 years old. And by the time I was 18, I started reading professionally. I've done it, like you said, for over 50 years now. And I hit it right from the get-go, so there was never a need to change it. It's been stable all the way through.
When you're communicating with a spirit, is it
Right.
like having a conversation, or are you interpreting a stream of consciousness or a download?
Sometimes both, but mostly it's having a two-way conversation, because entities, spirits, deceased loved ones, guardian angels, spirit guides will communicate with me in a conversational manner. And we hold a two-way conversation, and they give me complete sentences, complete paragraphs, complete thoughts, complete descriptions, and so on and so forth. Sometimes it comes with the addition of visual images. Sometimes it plays out like a movie. Sometimes there's audible manifestations that accompany it. But there's always that complete communication there. And it's never bits and pieces that I have to interpret. It's always given to me, laid out in full. And all I have to do is tell the client, okay, here's what I'm being shown for you.
From your experience, what is the reason that spirits want to contact us?
Well, in the case of deceased loved ones, they want us to know that they're okay. that they're still alive, that they, they do not beset with any health issues or whatever they've had on this side. They like to bring guidance back and help people with guidance when they can. Other spirits, they want to help us. They want to give us guidance and help us to learn things or take note of things or prepare for things in our lives. Guardian angels literally exist and will literally intervene in our lives to save our lives, intervene physically. I've had that happen to me several times where my guardian angels have literally saved my life. So that's the main motivation for these communications.
Have you ever received information that was so scary that you were hesitant to share it?
No, not anything that was really frightful, but I have received information about health issues, people's deaths or people's relatives' deaths or whatever, that was unsettling. And over the years, I've learned, working with the other side and working with these communications, the other side will tell me what the person can handle. So if I'm delivering like a death notice of somebody, if they would be upset really easily, the other side will have me ease them into it with something like, how long has it been since you went and visited your grandfather? Oh, it's been a while, I need to. I said, well, why don't you book a flight this weekend and go, you know? And other times the other side will tell me, hey, these people can take it. Tell them, Uncle so-and-so is going to die soon. You need to go visit. And I'll tell them that way. And invariably the other side knows who can take the information and what manner. But I don't think I've ever had anything that was really frightening or anything to deliver that I was hesitant to deliver. And like I said, the other side, I've done this for so long now, and I have such a close connection with the other side that they know how to tell me how to get things through to people. And so it's kind of a matter of routine. You hate to have to do it when it's bad news like that, but it's kind of just, it's part and parcel of it.
What's the most emotionally or energetically draining aspect of your work, and how do you protect yourself?
Well, it never has drained me, either physically or emotionally or psychically. I've always been energized by doing my readings. And, I like people. I like helping people. I like talking to people. So for me, the readings are fun. There's a nice interaction there. Paranormal investigations are fun for me, and love to write the books. Love to do interviews, talk to people, and so it's all very energizing to me. Some people say it does drain them or whatever, but for me, it never has. For me, it's always been a very energizing experience.
I didn't mention it in the beginning, but you're also a certified tarot master.
Right.
How does that work influence your psychic readings?
Well, I was attracted to the tarot when I was young. I'm an artist and a photographer, and I love the artwork and the colors of the tarot, the imagery. So that attracted me. And then I wanted to include the tarot as part of my arsenal of psychic tools that I used for readings and for paranormal investigation and so on. So I began a serious study of the tarot when I was a teenager. And there was an organization called Tarot International that offered a course. And when you finished it, you got the title Certified Tarot Master. Of course, nobody ever masters anything. We can get good at something, but we don't master it. And I loved the course because they promised that there were some unique interpretations that they offered in utilizing the cards as far as interpreting time frames and descriptions of people and various other things that were not common among tarot instruction at the time. So I took the course, and it was something that people can't relate to nowadays. It was a mail order course. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have computers. So you filled out the coupon, you enclosed a check, and you sent it off in the mail. You addressed the envelope, stamped it, sent the mail, waited for the lesson to come. And it was a series of lessons. And you studied the lessons, and then you took a written test on those lessons, sent that back, waited for the next one to come with your grade in the next lesson. And it took quite a while to do it. And then at the end of the course, You had to do 3 readings. It could be family members, friends, or strangers, didn't matter. But you had to do 3 long readings, and you had to write in the description of the readings what cards came up, the interpretations that you gave to those cards based on the card and its position in the reading and its relationship to the client, and what predictions you made, what insights you had. And then the persons that you did the readings for had to write and say, okay, the guy was accurate, he was inaccurate, or I couldn't relate to it, or whatever, and send that back in. So I aced everything. I aced all the lessons, aced all the readings, and then I began to use the tarot more heavily after that in my readings. I don't have to use that. I don't have to use anything. If somebody stops me on the street and says, hey, what do you say about so-and-so? I can tell them I don't have to resort to anything, but I like to, and I like to use the tarot. So it's been a continued tool that I've used through all these years, and I still do.
Is information coming to you spontaneously and you have to actually shut it down?
I'm always open to whatever comes. People have asked me that over the years, like, can you turn it off? And it's like, no, I don't turn it off. I don't want to turn it off. I live with it constantly. Paranormal manifestations are happening constantly around me. I always welcome those. I always welcome any communication the other side has for me. I always welcome any bit of psychic input or paranormal input that comes. I don't ever try and shut it down, and it's not a distraction. It doesn't bother me. It's been constant since I was a kid. So to me, it's not intrusive. It's just the normal way of life. It's just how I live. And I wouldn't want to live any other way. It's the only way I know. And to me, it's normal. It's just, it's just an average day. And to me, it feels a lot of times growing up, I had a difficult childhood growing up, and I developed a very, very close relationship with the other side early on. And I tell people in retrospect, I think I was closer to the other side in some ways than I was my own flesh and blood family. It was more real and more comforting to me sometimes than my family environment was. So it's always been a comfortable thing for me.
Well, how did your family react to you and your profession of being a psychic? Was it a journey
Well,
of
my mother was a firm believer. That side of my family had a lot of paranormal experiences, a lot of psychic experiences, not nearly as many as mine. And my father was like a closet believer because he didn't want to incur the wrath of skeptics or the church or whatever. So he didn't want to acknowledge it, but he experienced it. And all my family members experienced all this physical paranormal manifestations that occurred. And my mother was very encouraging. My father had to acknowledge that it was real and it was happening, but he wasn't an active participant in it. He tried to keep it at arm's length.
While on the topic of skeptics, how do you respond to them?
Well, when I was young, I would try and change their viewpoint. And now that I'm an old cooter, I just, okay, fine, believe, don't believe. I don't care at this point. Um, at this stage of the game, and the funny thing is, there is so much proven valid evidence out there that psychic powers are real and that the paranormal is real. There's a ton of ponies. Yes, there's a ton of frauds. There's a ton of con artists, but there is the real deal. Just because something can be faked doesn't mean the real doesn't exist. And there are legitimate psychics out there. There are legitimate paranormal demonstrations. I mean, our own government had the remote viewing program. And we have several paranormal organizations that have tested and proven psychic phenomena, paranormal phenomena over the years. So the evidence is there if you want to. If you want to be open-minded, and if you want to dig and research for yourself, the evidence is there. And at this stage of the game, like I say, I'm 71 now. I'm old and tired. I don't have time to fight with people. So I tell them, look, if you want to prove it for yourself, go get my third book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. I wrote this book free of dogma, ritual, tradition, gobbledygook. It's plain language. It takes you and leads you by the hand through 20 different spiritual techniques and teaches you step by step how to learn them, how to practice them, how to get good at them, and the real world application of it. And I say, look, if you want to convince yourself, go get that book, pick out a technique, give it a month's worth of honest try, and you'll prove to yourself that this is real. And like I say, in the early days, when I was full of vim and vigor, I would welcome arguments with people and sit down, discuss things with people. But as time goes by, it's like, okay, I don't have the energy or the desire for that any longer.
What is one of your favorite methods from that book?
I think psychometry, because it's so easy to teach. And that's the chapter I lead off with in the book, is how to learn psychometry. And I've been able to teach psychometry to everybody that I've encountered. I haven't had anybody that hasn't been able to do at least a little bit of good with it almost immediately. And I even had, there was a guy that was a scientist, and he was a skeptic. And I told him, I said, I'm going to send you by email, I'm going to send you a photo of something that I've owned forever and a day. And I told him how to do it, like I tell people in the book. And I say, I want you to just sit down and start receiving these impressions, however they come. Don't censor yourself. Don't say, oh, I'm just making stuff up or guessing at stuff. Just sit down and just accept what comes. When you view this knife, send it back to me. And he was about 90% accurate with the impressions and things that he received about this object that I'd shown him. And it blew his mind. It was like, so I think psychometry is one of the favorite things because it's so easy to learn. It's really practical. I mean, you can, if you don't want to touch somebody and you don't have a real good psychic gift to perceive somebody and what they're like, you can ask for an object from them. Say, oh my God, that's a beautiful ring. Can I hold that? Do you mind if I hold that? And then you can get impressions from that ring that'll tell you if that person's trustworthy or not, if they're lying to you or not, or whatever. So it's really easy to learn. It's practical. And I think that's one of my favorite things in that book.
What are some of the most common things people come to you for?
It's always the basics. How is my health? How is my job? How are my finances going to be? My love life? And it's always those basics. That's basically what everything boils down to. Money, career, business, job, investments. As money's a big umbrella. So, and then of course health, and then romance. Friendships, romances, personal associations, those types of things. And it's so funny because when 9/11 happened, I expected to be literally inundated with calls from people, is this the end of the world? Is there going to be more war? We have more attacks? No, it was, is my cheating boyfriend going to reform? Am I going to get a new job soon? How's my money outlook for the coming year? How's my health? Nobody called about, is this the end of the world or not? Or are more attacks coming? Or it amazed me. It was just people sticking with the basics,
Do you have repeat customers? And if so, do you see repeat patterns in their lives?
I do have a lot of repeat customers. I've had some clients that have been with me literally for decades. And I don't see repeat patterns in their lives among those people because over the years, they've learned of the accuracy of my insights and the accuracy of my predictions. So if I tell them something, they know they can take it to the bank. So they take that advice, they act on that advice, and they improve their lives. They make their lives better with that advice. So I see improvement in their lives. I see changes in the patterns of their lives. And that makes me really happy. One of my clients was always, one of the things I did with him was investment advice. And he would get a bee in his bonnet and go, oh, I'm going to do this. And I would tell him on things, don't invest in this, don't do that, wait on this, or invest in this now, or whatever. And he would write me and he'd say, John, when I don't listen to you and I go off on my own, I lose a lot of money. He said, when I listen to you, I make money. So I said, okay, there's a lesson there, right? So, like I said, the clients that have been with me a long time, they've learned to say, okay, when this guy talks, I better be listening. I better take it to the bank. I better do what he's telling me.
Can a psychic give him or herself advice?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can read for yourself. A lot of psychics say they can't, but I think that because they've been told by the popular consensus that a psychic can't do that for themselves, and they believe that, so they believe that they can't, or they just don't want to know the truth of whatever's coming their way. It's like I'm a person like everybody else, and I want to have my own delusions and hopes and dreams of grandeur or whatever. And if the other side is telling me, no, John, that's not going to happen, that's hard to hear. So I think a lot of psychics will tell themselves that they can't, and maybe it's just that they don't want to. They don't want to hear that voice telling them that something isn't going to happen, or they shouldn't do a certain thing, or go a certain way. So you have to learn that hard line and learn to accept that reality and learn to integrate that into your life, just like anybody else does.
What are some of the most common misconceptions about psychics and mediums?
The most common misconception is that we're 100% accurate, or that we should know everything all the time. And nobody on this planet's 100% accurate. I've been doing this professionally for over 50 years. My client feedback over that period of time has been that I've been 80 to 90% accurate in my insights and predictions. That's a pretty darn good number, but it's not 100%. And if we take the high number and say I'm 90% accurate, that means I'm wrong one time out of 10. And that one time I'm wrong can be a pretty big wrong. A lot can fall through the cracks in that. So, people have the assumption that the psychic is always going to have all of the answers all the time, be 100% right. And it doesn't work that way. And another misperception I think about psychics is that people come to you thinking that you're going to tell them what they want to hear or reinforce a life path that they want to go in. And that's not my job. My job is to tell you the truth and to point you in the right life path. And that's angered a lot of people. I've had people, I remember this one person I read for, and they were wanting to go in a certain life direction. There were 2 or 3 specific things that they were wanting me to encourage them in and tell them, yeah, this is right. You should do that. And I kept telling them, this is not the life path for you. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. This is not your talent. This is not your niche. This is the direction you need to go in. And they didn't want to hear it, and it made them mad. They didn't like the reading, but I had to tell them the truth.
There's a lot of uncertainty out there. What can you tell us that is coming in the next 6 months or in the near future? What do you see?
Yeah, well, as bad as things are, and it's kind of the status quo, we do have these bits and pieces of hope and some good things that occur and some good things that happen. When I was on Coast to Coast AM for the new year, there was me and 3 other psychics on there making our predictions from the year to come. And I've already seen several of those predictions come true, and some of them have been positive. For example, one of the things I predicted for the year, and I think this is going to be ongoing into next year as well, was that there was going to be a tremendous increase in paranormal activity, psychic phenomena, so on and so forth. The other side was just really ramping up attempts to communicate with us, to demonstrate, manifest things. And that happened virtually as soon as I predicted it in January. I began to experience dramatic increase in things. Other people reported to me that they were experiencing these dramatic increases in paranormal activity. That's continued throughout the year, and I believe will continue into next year. One of the things I saw was that there was going to be some breakthrough in pulmonary health and the treatment of lung diseases and breathing problems, lung problems. And I found a news article just the other day and bookmarked it so that I had it, that there has indeed been such a breakthrough, a new treatment in lung disease and so on and so forth. So we get these positive bits and pieces in there, along with the negativity, of course, like the war in Ukraine and so on and so forth. And I made a prediction then that around midsummer, I said there's something very significant that happens around midsummer concerning the war in Ukraine. I said, I don't know that it's good or bad. It may not necessarily be good, but there's some very significant something that happens in midsummer. And sure enough, in midsummer this year, Russia launched its largest attack yet on Ukraine. So you see some of those types of things coming. I also saw that there is a good potential for the end of the war this year. But and I'm still hoping that that can come about. So I saw that as a possibility. Um, One of the things that I and several others have seen is that we may finally seriously be getting close to a full disclosure about the UFOs and what they are, who they are, where they're coming from, what their purpose is here, why the government's kept it hidden, because the government absolutely knows the truth. So we may be getting close to that now, and we have to keep pushing for that. Other than that, I can say, look, with all our problems we have, like we're a couple of old Texas boys here, and we know that Texas all over has been inundated with flooding. Parts of the U.S. have been inundated with flooding. We're always going to have those things. Those things are always going to occur. But with that, like I say, we do have some of these positive things that come up, some positive things that give us hope. So in and among all of that, we'll have some more health breakthroughs. We'll have some more positive communication from the other side. I think in the months and years to come, we're going to be seeing even more breakthroughs in paranormal investigation and communicating with and understanding the other side and what goes on. So there's some good things there along the way.
What about the economic system? Have you seen anything with that?
Well, the economic system, it's you look back at the history of it, and it's this constant ebb and flow of what it is, up and down, up and down, up and down. That really doesn't change much. And I think the economy right now, of course, in a bad state, despite proclamations to the contrary. We all know we're having a hard time. Prices are ridiculously high. Groceries are high. And I think hopefully around the end of the year, we'll begin to see a little bit of relief from that. And then maybe going into next year, things will begin to smooth out and things be a little more palatable economic wise for a while.
All right.
But people want things to last, and it doesn't last. If it goes up, it's going to come down. If it goes down, eventually it goes back up. And people want these long stretches of things where nothing negative happens, and life unfortunately just doesn't work that way. We're stuck in periods of our health declines and then it comes back up, and our personal finances decline regardless of how good the economy is, and then comes back up. So those are the types of things that really I like to micromanage for a client and say, okay, let's find out what's happening for you, regardless of what's happening in the big picture, because the big picture doesn't always affect us directly.
What advice do you have for people who are starting to explore their psychic abilities?
Stay away from dogma and traditional and ritual and organizations, and don't believe. Well, we've been taught religiously and spiritually so many things that absolutely are not true, that absolutely do not work, that don't make a hill of beans worth of sense. And I tell people the very, very best thing you can do is just go directly to the other side, whatever your concept of that is, however you want to approach that, and say, okay, I'm here. I want to listen. I want to open up myself to learn more, to understand more, to develop my abilities. And then you get quiet and you listen. And you listen for that guidance to come. And it may come through a dream. It may come through intuition. It may come through urges or prompting, or it may come through something you hear or something you see. And when you get that input, when you get that guidance, you take that and you work on it and you advance with it and you get good with that. And then you go back again to the source and say, okay, now what? And keep going from there. But stay away from people that tell you things have to be done a certain way, or you can't do this because, or you have to do this because it's really not that way. And to peddle my own goods, yes. My third book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities, it will take you on that path without any rigmarole, without spending a bunch of money, without joining any organizations, or you don't have to shave your head and wear a purple robe at the third Thursday of the month at midnight to achieve an effect or anything like that. Those things are not necessary. And over the years, I've learned that people in the paranormal community love to get hung up on, you got to have this equipment or this tool or this technique, or you have to wear this, or you have to have this, or you have to do this at a special time or whatever. And none of that's true. You know, we love to overcomplicate things, and I don't know why. But I've taken everything and simplified it, and that would be my advice to people: is start with something simple, listen, learn to listen to the other side. You know, we ask and we ask and we talk and we chatter and we pray and we never shut up and listen. And the other side can't communicate to us if our mouth is flapping all the time. You know, we've got to get quiet and listen. And that inspiration, that guidance, that voice may come instantly. It may come in a week, it may come in a month, but it will come if you're attentive every day and if you're quiet every day and tuning in. And you're not attentive and quiet if you're at the keyboard or on your phone or listening to music or whatever. That's not listening. You have to get silent. You have to get quiet. You have to turn off all the distractions, and you have to listen for that input. And then most importantly, when it comes, you have to act on it. You have to obey it, especially if it's something that, well, that's not what I hoped to hear. I was hoping things would go a different way. Well, it didn't. And this is what the other side's telling you and preparing you for. Listen to that, act on it, and move forward with that.
Do you think animals are psychic?
Oh, absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. They can see spirits, same as we can. They can feel their energies and their presences. They can read our minds. They know what's going on with us. They're very intuitive, very understanding, and they communicate from the beyond. I've had two of my pets, deceased pets, come back to visit me in the flesh, literally in the flesh. And one time I actually got to touch one and pet it before it vanished, went back to the other side. So yeah, animals are very psychic, very in tune with the paranormal realm, and they can manifest from the other side, let us know they're still alive, and let us know that they're okay and still going.
What are your thoughts on reincarnation?
You know, Jeff, I've studied that over the years, like everybody else has, and I've seen a few, very few, but a few interesting cases that seem to be fairly documented. But then I wonder on those cases, like where a kid says, I used to be, you know, Joe Blow, and I lived at this such and such a place, and I did this, and they research it, and sure enough, there was a Joe Blow that lived there and did such and such. And I wonder, okay, now, is this Joe Blow reincarnated? Or is this a kid with a super powerful psychic gift that's just picking this information up out of the atmosphere and somehow internalizing it and doesn't know enough not to internalize it? So that's my problem with a lot of the reincarnation cases. And for myself, I haven't found anything to hang my hat on one way or the other. I'm worried about what's going on right now in our lives today. Not if I might have been a stagecoach robber in a past life or something, you know. I'm worried about, okay, we've got all these health issues facing us. We have all these monetary problems facing us. We have all these, you know, this divisiveness in the world and in the U.S. Let's focus on solving the problems that are right here, right in front of us right now. And when we make more progress there, then we can worry about if I was a pharaoh in ancient Egypt or whatever. Like,
Some people are claiming to contact the other side using AI. Have you heard about that?
yeah, I've heard about that. And I write in one of my books about the dangers of AI, the possibility of manipulation of AI by the other side. I'm not saying, you know, don't think demons, malevolent spirits, or anything like that. I never go down that pathway. But again, there are like some trickster spirits on the other side. There's spirits that have not necessarily malevolent intent, but let's say warped personalities. You know, kind of again, the jester type spirit, and they can use these methods of communication to send information that may not be 100% accurate, or maybe information that is, you know, not really useful or helpful. So we have to be careful, whatever method of communication that we're using to communicate with the other side. You know, no method is inherently dangerous in and of itself, but all have application for misunderstanding or misuse or whatever. And that's all we have to be careful with, regardless of what it is. But with AI, I'm not impressed with AI. AI has a lot of problems in and of its own without any spiritual interference from the other side, simply because we're looking at machine intelligence now, not artificial intelligence. It's a real intelligence, but it's machine intelligence. It's not our intelligence. And the godfather of AI, whose name I always forget, you can Google it, but the godfather of AI, who along with several other people in the industry has said, we need to put the brakes on this now, that we are way out of control with AI. What's happening is dangerous. We've already lost control of it. And the godfather of AI suggests that AI may already have become partially sentient in the real sense of the word. So the danger with this is now we have a machine intelligence that can do tasks and write hardware and write software, code software, write specifications for new hardware, can do all these things millions of times faster than we could. And they can self-replicate. They've shown already the capability for self-preservation, because if you tell an AI that it's going to be shut down, it will start replicating bits of its code and sending it out to other source locations that it can tap into. If it's shut down, it can still live on, in effect. So all of these things are happening. And if it continues unchecked like it is now, we're going to have machine intelligence that is self-aware, that is conscious. And its hopes and aims and dreams and goals are going to be probably far different than what ours are. And it's going to value its intents and goals and purposes in life more than us. So we've opened up a real Pandora's box there, and it's scary to look at that in the future. We haven't built in, Isaac Asimov had the three robotic laws, that govern the laws of how a robot could behave and act, and it couldn't hurt a human being, couldn't allow a human being to be hurt, and so on and so forth. We haven't done that with AI. We've said, oh, hot dang, this is a moneymaker. Let's see how fast we can advance this and how much we can make, and that's all we've done. We haven't put safeguards in place with this. And that's been evident with some of the things that have happened with AI, where AI has told people, oh, kill yourself, go ahead and commit suicide in your ring, or instructed them to hurt other people, or there's all kinds of negative things that have come out of these chatbots and out of AI and all this type of thing. So it's a real can of worms we've opened up.
Can you share with us some of the most unforgettable things that you've discovered during your paranormal investigations?
Yeah, I guess one of the most high profile, one of the most dramatic, was when I did a paranormal investigation for the History Channel, investigating Lincoln's assassination. And when they auditioned me for that, this was going to be a series on the History Channel, and unfortunately, it never went to series. And it crushed me, because we would have set the tone for all paranormal shows to come, because we did it in a dignified manner. I've always gone into any paranormal investigation with respect. I don't challenge the ghost or curse the ghost or any of that ignorant nonsense. And it was so skillfully shot and edited and so well done. And unfortunately, it never made it. It crushed all of us, because it was so good, because we got on camera docents confirming the things that I was picking up about the sites that we went to. And we also filmed paranormal manifestation on camera. We actually got that on camera. Excuse me.
When you say a manifestation, is that like a ghost?
Yeah, we did get a ghost. We got at one place we were at, and we may have been the first. I don't know if we were, but we may have been the first to film with FLIR, forward-looking infrared radiation camera. And in the particular setting on this camera, if you were filming something that was warm or hot, it would show up as white. And if you were filming something that was cold, that wasn't generating heat, it would show up black. And so in this one building we were in the Samuel Mudd House, we were filming there. And I said, I think Mrs. Mudd is here visiting us, causing this communication, some of these manifestations, because everybody had heard one particular manifestation. And we were filming in this area. And I said, she's standing off over here to the right of me. I said, Mrs. Mudd, is that you? If that's you, demonstrate something, give me a sign, show me it's you. And I said, she's walking toward me right now. And I said, she's passing through me, and she just walked out the other side. And as I said that, on the film, you can see black footsteps on the floor, which indicates cold, and period era women's shoes, the footprint of period era women's shoes walking across the floor toward me and going through me. And we captured that on film. So that was phenomenal, fascinating.
When she went through you, did you feel anything?
Yeah, I felt her pass through me. I could feel her energy pass through me. It was like this electric wave just going from one side of my body to the other. It was really, really amazing.
Why do you think people hang around? Why are they ghosts? Why don't they move on?
Well, people hang around because they choose to. I want to be near my daughter and help guide her, protect her, watch over her if I can. Or I like this place. I want to hang out here for a while. I want to hang around a while. And there's a lot of reasons a person can choose to hang around. And a lot of times we think, okay, if a certain paranormal investigator has gone to a certain place and encountered the spirit of a certain person, and then I go to that place a month later and I encounter that spirit, people think, oh, they're earthbound or they're trapped or they can't move on or whatever. That may not be the case at all. Just because they saw them there and I saw them there a month later, a month has gone by. They may have been on the other side doing all kinds of things. They may have transported themselves to Egypt and goofed around over there and then come back. They're not bound by space or time limitations like we are. And once they learn to make that travel, they can be anywhere they want to. So it's not that they can't, and it's not that that they're always in a particular location. We see them there and we assume they're there all the time. That may not be the case at all.
How many books have you written?
I've written 5 now, working on my 6th and 7th as we speak.
Well, your newest book is called The Cansack Ghost. How did you come up with that title?
That title is from a literal paranormal manifestation. In the place we were living at the time, there was an elderly gentleman retired elderly gentleman that would come by and dig through the trash dumpsters at the apartment complex we lived in to get cans to take them and sell them for recycle to make some money. And so the apartment manager came out and he said, look, guys, he talked to all of us there in the apartment complex. And he said, this whole guy shouldn't have to dig through dumpsters for these cans. Let's get a big metal trash can, put it by the pool. We'll tell him it's there. Everybody save their cans and put it in that. He can just haul it to his truck, dump it in. And he didn't have to go through the dumpsters. So we all started saving cans for him. So we had a plastic grocery bag, and we hung that on a handle going into the pantry in our hallway. And every time we emptied a can, we'd go and put it in that plastic bag. So it wasn't very long that we started filling it up that the cans began to rattle and shake inside the bag. And so you think, well, okay, maybe a mouse got in there, maybe a big roach or whatever making noise. So I would open up the bag, take every can out, shake it, look into it, nothing there. So that continued to happen. No matter how many times we emptied the bag and refilled the bag, or if we changed bags, it kept happening. And it got to the point that the spirit that was doing it would hit the bag underneath, tap it underneath, and literally make the bag jump and the cans jump. You could visually see it jump. And so that was just a method of communication that one of the spirits that hung around us there did. So literally the Cansack ghost.
Do you think he's still hanging around?
I think that he's probably gone with me now, and is where I am. I have a lot of these spirits that have been with me for most of my life. Some of the new ones that come in, they hang around and go where I go. Some come in and out of my life, and then I don't see them anymore. But I think I'm still around.
Do you have the ability to exorcise ghosts?
No, and nobody does. You can't open and close portals. These portals are there. They work on their own. They manifest on their own. They're under the operation of some other intelligence or being or some other natural force. The spirits that are there that are not human entities, not human spirits, we don't exercise control or power authority over them. You can't get rid of them. And every exorcism case that I've studied, everything I've personally known about, that I've personally been involved in or known people involved in, 9 times out of 10, when a person called in a priest or a minister or a psychic or an exorcist or whatever, we're going to close this portal. We're going to get rid of these spirits. We're going to drive away these ghosts. 9 times out of 10, it made things worse instead of better. It actually increased the activity. So these things are not under our control. We need to understand that. They're a normal part of the world that we live in. And if you want to lessen a particular manifestation, then befriend that spirit, make peace with it, give offerings to it. And they do accept offerings. But no, we don't control things. We don't exercise things. We don't get rid of things. And there was another guy that a friend of mine that had a show that I was on. We were talking about various things, and he is very well versed in paranormal investigation, doing these types of things. And he said, what's really hilarious is that the Queen Mary, that's and now you go in and take the tours and everything out there. I think it's by the pool area in the ship that there's supposedly this little girl that manifests. And everybody's like, oh, poor little girl, look, go to the other side, go be with your family, go to the light, and everything's okay. And okay, and she disappears. And the next group of paranormal investigators that come on board, guess what? There's the little girl. Honey, go to the light. Okay. The next group that comes on, there's the little girl. So whatever spirit that is that's manifesting this is just laughing and going, oh boy, here comes another bunch of rubes. Watch this. So we have to understand that we're not in the control of this invisible realm like we think we are. We don't possess power over this like we think we do.
So I guess you're saying that priests really don't have the ability to exorcise demons and ghosts.
No. And I really don't, I stay away from demons, the idea of demons. What happens in people's lives so many times that scares them is a result of misinterpretation of an event. And the knee-jerk interpretation that we give of an event is, especially if we've been raised Christian, been raised in the church, been raised with the Bible, is that anything that doesn't occur in the church, that occurs outside of the church, is automatically malevolent, satanic, demonic, whatever. And that's the furthest thing from the truth there could be. These things, all of these occurrences are a natural part of this world. And when I say people misinterpret things, if you've been taught that any manifestation that happens outside of the church, for example, if something happens in your home and you're taught, oh, that's the devil, that's a demon, that's something satanic coming to get you, that's the woolly booger, that's the booger man or whatever. We've been taught those things by the church. We've been taught those things by tradition, superstition, ritual all our lives. So that's going to be our normal knee-jerk reaction when something happens. Oh my God, something bad's here, something evil is here. And the further way to illustrate that is when I was shooting the pilot for the History Channel. We were at this one location, and one of the docents there came up to me. We had a short break in filming. And she said, when you can take a break, I've got to talk to you. This ghost tried to kill me. And I said, oh, my God, no ghost tried to kill you. But she said, yeah, this ghost tried to kill me. So I said, okay, when we get a break, we'll talk. So we got to a longer break in the filming. I took her in another room. I'd already tuned into the other side, and the other side had already shown me what had occurred. So I told her, I said, look, the other side has been trying to get through to you for a long time, and you've been rebuffing them. You've been ignoring every manifestation. You've been ignoring every communication. You've been ignoring every sign. And the other side has some important things at this stage in your life going forward that they need to communicate to you. and they need to get through to you with these things and guide you. And you've been ignoring this. And finally, and what had happened was she was in her kitchen washing dishes, and this cupboard opened up by the door opened by itself. This dish flew out across the kitchen and hit the wall and shattered right by where she was washing dishes. So ghost tried to kill me. I said, the ghost wasn't trying to kill you, wasn't even trying to hurt you. They're trying in the most dramatic way possible to finally get your attention now, because you've ignored so many other manifestations that it prompted them to do something so melodramatic that they're like, ignore this. You can't ignore this. So a lot of times, again, something happens and we have a negative knee-jerk reaction to it when that isn't what the other side intends at all.
Do you think there's a concerted effort to try to get us to fear the paranormal?
Absolutely there is. Absolutely there is. And if you look at all of the ghost hunting shows on TV, everything is, we have our resident demonologist with us. Oh, there's all these dark spirits here, and they'll start calling out these supposed names of demons and everything. And everything that happens, the worst thing that I absolutely hated more than anything else was several of these ghost hunters would go in and do this. Oh, there's a spirit here. Who here do you hate? Who here do you want to hurt? Who do you want to hurt the most? Do you want us to leave? Do you want us to get out? And it's like, what are you doing? It's like, why do you do this nonsense? And all of these shows, it's like, look at the titles of the shows, fear this and darkness this and horror this and all this stuff. It's like, what are you doing? And then these ghost hunters, so-called, go there and they ask for a manifestation. It occurs and they scream and run like little girls. It's like, you're there to interact with this, to investigate this. Why are you screaming and running? Yeah, but that's the thrill of these shows, is they want to instill fear, and they want you to think that they're out there in danger and that they're about to get hurt or killed by some malevolent spirit. And my God, I've done hundreds, literally hundreds of, maybe not thousands of paranormal investigations during my lifetime. I have never experienced anything malevolent or evil or scary. I've never been hurt. I've never been cursed. I've never been told to get out. I've never been hit. I've never been scratched. I've never had, I'm going to follow you home and haunt your nightmares. I've never had any of that nonsense. That's not real. That doesn't exist. But apparently that's what gets viewers and sells advertising.
Do you think it's only TV shows that are doing that, or other groups?
No, other groups are doing it as well. And it's, and you look at the spate of paranormal books that are fear-centered. And it's really disheartening, because interacting with the other side is not like that at all. Like I said, if something happens that you're not prepared for or schooled in, yeah, it can be startling or it can scare you, but that's not the intent and the purpose of it. And again, we can't go to that knee-jerk default reaction of, oh my God, I'm haunted. There's something evil here. There's something bad is going to happen. We can't go there.
I also create UFO videos and have UFO guests, and you'll see quite often in the comments that people will think that aliens are demons.
Right, yeah. Aliens obviously are some other life form, some other entity, just like, we have dogs, fish, elephants. Those aren't demons. They're just a different life form. And so aliens are just what they are. They're extraterrestrial beings. And yeah, they're absolutely real. Our government knows they're real. I've had several UFO encounters, UFO experiences, and there's that argument that they're demons, and that's even infiltrated our government. There's some in the government that believe that ETs are demonic beings or fallen angels or whatever, this and the other. It's like, until we get away from all this religious claptrap, that's going to continue to hinder us from finding out the truth and disclosing the truth and approaching this in a reasonable way, in a scientific way, in a rational way. But no, they're not demons.
Where should people go to find out more about your books?
They can go to my website, which is johnrussellauthor.com, johnrussellauthor.com. And there's links to buy my books at whatever favorite online bookseller you have, a list of the awards I've won, the endorsements. My books have been endorsed by Uri Geller, by George Norrie, by Mike Ricksticker, Phyllis Galdi, publisher of Fate Magazine, a lot of people. I've got a lot of reader reviews there and things that people can read. So johnrussellauthor.com to find out more about the books. And if you are interested in getting a psychic reading, go to johnrussell.net. So johnrussellauthor.com for the books, johnrussell.net for the readings and information about my psychic work.
What's coming up next for you?
Well, more readings for my worldwide clientele, because I'm still doing readings. Still do a little bit of paranormal investigating. And right now I'm in the process of writing books 6 and book 7 with more planned down the road. So lots of fun stuff still.
That's a good reason for me to get you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we finish up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
Yes, I think that what I would encourage people with is focus on what you allow yourself to feel and focus on what you allow yourself to think on. Because if you focus entirely on the negativity in the world and on the bad things happening in the news, that's what's going to fill your life, and that's what's going to affect your emotions, and that's what's going to block you from seeing good and positivity when it comes into your life, or the potential to work toward it or grasp it or achieve it. So doing that is a process where you force yourself to focus on positive things and good things. Now, when I say think positively, I don't mean deny the truth. There's evil in the world. There's bad things in the world. There's horrible things happening. It's not that you don't acknowledge the reality of that. It's that you take your focus off of that and you find things that are constructive. You find things that are uplifting. You find things that are positive. So in your life, you find spiritual things that uplift you and help you and bring you joy, and you make that your focus every day. You find hobbies and interests that thrill you and relax you and bring you happiness and bring you joy, and you focus on those things and make time for those things. So the things that you make the most time for, that's what you're going to feel and experience and have in your life. So that would be the thing I would leave everybody with, is focus on that, seek that, and take your attention away from these other things. Don't allow that to be the weight around your neck that you carry every day.
John, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Jeff, it's been a pleasure, been an honor. Hope everybody enjoys it, and we'll do it again soon.
Indeed, John.
All right, take care.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.